Stunning, I can just say I remember being 18 years old and getting the opportunity to, number one, be on an aeroplane for the very first time and going overseas to Singapore back then. And that was all because of SA under 18 team. And I think not only for me, but for so many players that came before me and after me, that was a reality. And I want to say thank you for that. Tani Dai, also, I want to start off by asking you, because I know a lot of people just see you always making announcements and big speeches at tournaments, but I actually want to get to the heart of Tani Dai, and I want to tell the story about Tani Dai. So I want to ask you, how did you end up in netball, or how did your journey start in netball? Because I know, like you said, you didn't even come from netball, but how did it end up being this?
Well, when I started teaching, they needed netball coaches, and they had enough of the other codes, and my principal said, well, you're the phys ed teacher, so you know about sports. I said, yeah, I do know about sports. They said, well, you're going to do netball. I said, no, sir, you don't understand. I don't even know which side of the ball to hold, let alone going to coach it. So they said, well, then you're going to learn. I will send you on every course that there is. And I went, and things were okay. And then one day my kids came to me and said, ma'am, please come with us to trials because things are unfair there. So I said, how can things be unfair? And when I got there, they said, okay, all those that played last year, sit aside, what positions are we short for this year? So I said to them, hey guys, you can't do this, you've got to have like trials. And they said, if you want to change the system, then you better get involved. Sure. So hence I got involved. And little did I realize then where I would be today. I have experienced so much internationally. I've made international friends. I've learnt about business, which I never thought I would as a teacher. I've learnt about law. I've learnt about so much. And I think it's enriched my life tremendously. And everything I do for the kids. For me, that is the most important. I don't want kids to be left out. I don't want kids to feel that they are inferior in any way. And when people attack children, they attack me.
Tani Dai, but where does that come from? That, you're here for the kids, because there's got to be a why as to why you want to fight for kids, and you always, that's one thing that I can say, you always want the best for kids. But where does that come from?
Look, from when I was very little, I told my mum, don't ever think you are going to have grandchildren, because I'm not going to walk around with a book. I'm not going to do anything, so I'm not going to have children. And then when I started teaching, I realized, because I was actually going to study medicine, I wasn't going to be a teacher. I thought teaching was like this really dumb job. And the good Lord had other ideas for me. And he steered me into education. And I can't say that I've looked back for one moment in my education career. And when it comes to netball, I think netball is like a drug, more so than any other code. And I've played football, I've played volleyball, nationally, provincially, I did athletics. But netball is just something else. Once it gets into your bloodstream, I don't know, it gives you a different kind of energy. It gives you something else. And you can't explain it unless you're in netball to actually know what it's all about. Because there's just something, and even now I can't say to you what it is, but seeing the joy of the kids and the experience and how children grow, and I think that for me is what's important, is how the children grow and develop. From one to the next, and you see them coming year after year, and they come to you as adults, and they come and give you a drukkie and say, hi Tani Dai, you remember me? And often I just remember a face, not always the name. But that's what's important, and I think that's what keeps me going.